Welcome back to the Loose and Groovy Baseball Show, episode number 16. Today we're doing top 10 first baseman heading into 2025. Last week we did the catchers. Be sure to check that one out if you haven't already. Parker, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. It's nice to start to get through all these infield positions, and then we can move into the big ones with right field, left field, and center field. So
I don't know if you noticed, but the sun is out for the first time today in like a week here in Michigan. We've had a pretty brutal week of snow, so that's nice to see.
yeah,
But yeah, so we're gonna get started right into it. But first of all, we're gonna talk about some of the free agency stuff that happened this past week. There was actually a couple, I would say, big signings here. The first one is Roki Sasaki finally decided where he's going to sign, and that is with the Dodgers. Just on a minor league contract, and he also is now the number one prospect in all of the MLB. So he does add to already a star-studded rotation there. I mean, I'm not surprised that he really went here. I think a lot of people kind of thought that when he was posted. I forgot the name of his team, but when he was posted from the NPB. And yeah, I mean, I think he'll be good. We'll see. It might take him a bit to get adjusted to MLB a little bit, but nonetheless, he's got a lot of great upside and he's already a really solid arm. So I think it's can't go wrong for the Dodgers, and I'm excited to watch him pitch. So I don't have much else to say outside of that.
yeah. I was just looking at some of his videos, and I really don't know much about him. If I'm gonna be honest. I just know that he's supposed to be really good, and a lot of these Japanese players translate fairly well once they come to the majors. But I saw he has a 102 fastball and a 92 mile per hour slider. So I don't know how that couldn't be nasty, especially when you have like the Dodgers pitching coach to work with you. Yeah, so I can see it working out good. And we can kind of pair into this. We didn't talk about this before that we were going to talk about these guys, but Kirby Yates and Tanner Scott, it's
Hmm.
getting just kind of crazy now with how much the Dodgers are getting. Do you want to give your quick opinion on if
Wait,
it's
Kirby
good
also
for,
went to LA? I think I forgot about that.
yeah, Kirby went to LA.
Okay.
That was like the last one. Um, but yeah, I guess what's your opinions on those two guys? And then you can also say like, do you think that's good or bad for baseball? That's like that seems like the common question right now.
Yeah. Yes, we did talk about this a little bit actually. So I don't really know. Like I would say it's not a bad thing for baseball that the Dodgers are like doing things, I guess. Like the way baseball is set up, I think you can make the argument more for how baseball is set up than what is going on right now. Because like I think the Dodgers are playing within, what they can do. And I guess you could say, market share and everything and how much revenue they're bringing in. I think Dodgers are like one of the top revenue teams last year, which, allows them to have all this money. Um, but at the same time, it's not poor people. Okay, that's probably rude, but it's not like rich people are the ones that owns these teams, so
Yeah.
they have the money to do a lot of these things. And so you can't be mad at the Dodgers for actually using the money they have. Um, do I think other teams should spend more? Yeah, probably. But I just the Dodgers are going all in. They want to kind of have a dynasty here, and if they're going to spend a lot of money to do that, then that's kind of what they're going to do. They're paying a lot of guys, 5, 10 years after their contracts are up, and that might squeeze them later down the line. We don't really know right now, but I mean, I think you saw on this, but their deferred money is up to $1 billion now, and that's just like that doesn't just go away, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so yes, it looks kind of like weird now. But I would also say, or like, I guess it looks unfair now, but I would also say that's just kind of like how it works, I guess. And if it just the other teams, I think, if anything, I would change the rule about there being like a floor amount of money you can spend, I guess. Like you have
Yeah.
to spend this certain amount. But the way it's set up, I don't think you can really just implement a salary cap now. So it's kind of, I don't know. But what do you think?
Well, I've been the main argument I've been seeing, and this I'm not saying this is my argument, but I've been seeing a lot of people say that they're not killing baseball, and that what who we should really be mad at is the owners that don't spend money,
Hmm.
which I totally agree with that. But as a fan, it's still kind of frustrating if you're a fan of the small market teams because you can't change how much your owner spends. So like
Yeah.
that argument, like, okay, yeah, I agree. Like my owner should spend more money, but he doesn't. So like, why is it fair that the Dodgers are spending so much?
Mm.
But I totally agree. I don't think it's fair to be mad at the Dodgers because if they have the money and they want to spend it
Yeah.
and nobody else is spending, they're not just gonna. let the free agent go that they wanted if just because the league makes the league mad. So I mean, I don't know, dude. It's such a hard question. Is it good for baseball? There's no, I don't know how it could be good for baseball when all the free agents are going there, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish. Okay, I guess real quick. I don't mean to take so long on this,
No, it's all right.
but floor cap or floor or salary cap? Like which is the better option? I probably agree with you. I think a floor would be better. Um, then you still have like the Dodgers and all those other guys spending a ton of money, like the Mets, Yankees. But when there's a floor, a lot of those free agents, those floor teams would have to pick up just because they have to meet that floor. So
Yeah.
then that would take away from the Dodgers and the Yankees and all those teams. So it would definitely cost some more parity if there was a floor. So I don't know. Will it
Yeah.
happen? Maybe, but
There's some other things to think about too with baseball with TV rights and all, like because you have your Bally's and I'm already gonna blank on the other ones that are around, but like there's multiple different networks involved in broadcasting these games, and that does play effect in how much money these guys get. Whereas I think about the NFL, it's like CBS and Fox, and it kind of just rotates. Like there's not one company or broadcast company that like streams your games or whatnot. And so
yeah.
that's definitely a little different too. And that would be like, okay, maybe you can't really add a salary cap then because all these teams' revenue share is kind of different. Whereas all the teams in the NFL kind of fall under this like umbrella of revenue, I think is how it works. Don't quote me on that, but I feel like that's kind of how it feels. Um, I agree with you though. I think salary cap is better. I mean, not cap, salary floor, or like spending floor. It just seems like, and it just kind of sucks because if you were going to be an owner of a team, wouldn't you want to do stuff? Like I
You
don't I don't
yeah.
understand why they wouldn't, and maybe because it's like a lot of their own money and they're just kind of worried about risking it on this team and like if your player doesn't plan out and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I definitely think a floor wouldn't be a bad thing. It encourages smaller markets to, put some money out there and actually put an effort into putting a good team out there instead of, I don't, and not that the Rays have a bad system, but it's kind of just like, okay, we're gonna have a top 10 farm system every single season. We're gonna call these guys up, and then when it's time for them to get paid, we're just gonna trade them. And it's like, I mean, that's fine, and it's worked for them pretty much, and they know who they are as a team, which I also don't think is a bad thing. But it just leaves a lot left to be desired for Tampa Bay fans, and that whole organization where you just know you're never really going to have a big push, I feel like. So I don't think a floor would be a bad thing at all. Cap, I'd be a little hesitant about, especially with how it is structured right now. I think that'd be kind of hard to implement, but I think if they want to do that, they probably could. So, but yeah, we can move on from that conversation.
One last
Oh yeah,
thought.
one more thing. Okay.
I was talking to my brother, and he kind of put it in a funny way. So it's almost as if all these small market teams are just farm systems for the big market teams. So
Hmm.
like we'll have these 5 or 6 years before free agency where these guys are like playing like crazy, like Juan Soto with the Nationals and like all of those
Yeah.
like the smaller market teams with the good players. And then so that's the farm system part. And then once they hit free agency, that's when they get picked up by the big teams. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how it's going now, it seems like Scooble, like I don't think we can hold on to Scooble because
Hmm.
we won't spend the money. And I feel like there's a good chance he'll just go to the Dodgers or to the Mets as soon as he hits free agency. So that's what I feel like it's gotten to.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. And then it's kind of like you kind of just hope that before free agency for a lot of your guys, you kind of have them all come up at the same time, and then a
Yeah,
lot
I
of your
guess that's the
arbitration
window.
guys just kind of make a good team instead of,
Yeah,
and maybe like a small free agent here or there. I never
right.
thought of it that way. That's interesting though, and I feel like that's kind of accurate too. There was one other thing I was actually going to say about the Dodgers, and I think I was just going to say their team is really good now. And not that that's not obvious, but like Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates, like those are Kirby Yates had a sub 2 ERA last year. That's nuts. Oh, I was going to say, and I did tell you this, but it is pretty it's pretty ideal for these players to want to sign with LA now. Coming off a World Series, they know the team they have now. If you're living in LA in a good area, I think that'd be pretty nice too, and you have the money get a good spot.
Mhm.
There's a lot of things to like about being in LA right now, for playing baseball and being a part of that team. And I think players are willing to take a bit of a salary cut to get a World Series, to be a part of that team.
Yeah.
So I think that is also there's a lot of good incentive there, and that's something the Dodgers have built on for the past couple of
Oh,
years.
definitely. You can't blame the players at all. I who wouldn't want to go to LA after that?
Yeah. Okay, so we'll finally get on with that, but let us know anything about that down below. But anyway, next up, Jerkson Profars moves over to Atlanta, and I did see like a projected lineup that I wanted to pull up on here, and I was just gonna read it off, and it was pretty pretty excited to be an Atlanta fan right now, I think. So projected lineup for 2025. We have Ronald Acuna, Jurickson Profar, Austin Riley, Matt Olson, Marcell Ozuna, Michael Harris, Ozzie Albies, Sean Murphy, and Orlando Arcia. Other than like the Dodgers maybe in the NL, I don't think there's many other lineups that are that much better than that, to be honest with you.
No, I totally agree. I love the lineup now, and I always have. They've always had a great core in Olson, Albies, Acuna. Acuna's gonna be back now. Austin Riley. I love that. But one thing that does scare me, kind of going off the offense side, but losing Freed and Charlie Morton is huge. I know
Mm,
Morton's not like crazy, but like he's been like a staple like innings eater at the end of their rotation. So that scares me. So I think this offensive move is more just to keep pace with the Phillies and the Mets because the Mets have been making big moves.
hmm.
Um, that division is going to be so fun next year with the Nationals coming up too. Those four teams, that's going to be
Yep.
like a bloodbath.
You don't think the Marlins are going to be competing up there for
No.
the
I don't know. I mean, that return they got on Jake Burger, you never know.
The Braves starting five as of right now is Chris Sale, Reynaldo Lopez, Schwellenbach, and then it's Grant Holmes and Ian Anderson.
Yeah, I don't like those
Anderson, I
last
don't
two.
think there's no stats for him last year. I don't even know if he pitched last year. Grant Holmes, he had 68 innings with a 3.56, so that I don't he might be like a bullpen guy that they're moving up there or something.
Yeah, must be.
So after the first three, I definitely get what you're saying. It is a little shaky for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll
but
figure it out though.
yeah, and Profar, it's a really good deal. You've said that a lot too already. It's a good contract for Atlanta and good for Profar. I mean, that was kind of last chance to kind of get your career right in San Diego, and he did, and I'm happy he got paid for it. So that's cool. And then final guy we wanted to mention is Anthony Santander to Toronto. We've talked about Toronto a lot this whole off season. I'm not surprised they finally got a big name here, but it just seems so it does not seem right when like your team is going to look so different next year probably that to just go out and get a big name like this and sign him to a pretty big contract, it just seems like pointless. And I know Toronto doesn't really they're not really too worried about money. But it just, I don't know. I feel like that he's just gonna rot away in Toronto for 5 years or until he gets unhappy and then he's gonna want to get traded or something. Because I don't see like a lot of their stars staying next year. But I don't know if you have any other thoughts than that. But
I I've been seeing some other podcasts talk about it, and they're just saying how like if the Blue Jays get one more bat, they're going to be like contenders. And they're like the Blue Jays fans should be excited. I think I'm kind of with you. I think they're in a terrible spot regardless. They could pick up two more bats, and I would not feel good just because they're losing so much next year, and just because a lot of their guys that are supposed to be good are aging and they're not as good anymore, like Bassett, George Springer, Dalton Varsho was not good last year. Um, I don't really have much hope in them, honestly. I don't even know if they'll. I think right now they're like a 78, 79 win team. I'm not very high on them.
and I think I forgot if I said this to you, but also you got to remember what the division they're in. They're with the Yankees, the Red Sox, and
Yeah,
the Orioles, which I still think are all better teams than they are. And it's like
yeah.
there's still a decent shot. Maybe you can sneak a wild card in, but then what are you going to do when you move on to the
Um,
division series? I don't see this team making a run.
Yeah, I think with the Rays, how they just always pile up like 80 wins. I think the Rays could be better with their rotation compared to the Blue Jays.
I
Like,
yeah, they still have a couple good bats too, and a lot of young guys that might be up this year also.
yeah.
I want to read off. So these are the names I'm going to read off. These are all names that are going to be free agents within the next two seasons. So 2026 or 27. George Springer, Kevin Gossman, Chris Bassett, Bo Bichette, Chad Green, Yimi Garcia, Vladdy, Eric Swanson, Dalton Varsho, Alejandro Kirk. Those are all guys going to be free agents in the next 2 years.
Wow. That's
Like the team is gonna be I don't know, maybe they'll resign some of these guys, like especially the ARB guys. Like
yeah.
okay, I don't know if Vladdy's gonna stay. I honestly don't. But is Varsho gonna stay? Is Kirk gonna stay? Like it just seems like this team is gonna it's changing so much and to just throw on Anthony Santander, it's like, okay, I don't even know.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, well, we'll move on then. You have more trivia for me, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting one. I don't know how well it's going to work because it might be a lot of numbers thrown at you.
Okay.
But I'm going to give you four players, and I'm just going to give you their basic home runs, RBIs, and batting average. Some of them are very close, so don't feel embarrassed or frustrated because this is kind of difficult.
Okay.
I'll give you the four players' names, and then I'll give you the four home run and RBI totals, and you have
Hmm.
to match up the stats with the players.
Okay.
So. The first player is Willie Adames. So if you want to write these down, maybe
Yeah, I'm gonna do
Brett
that.
Billy or something.
Yeah.
Matt Chapman, Ellie De La Cruz, and then Seiya Suzuki.
Okay.
So now the first one, the first home run, RBI, and batting average is, let's see, 25 home runs, 76 RBIs with a 259 average.
Okay.
And then the next one is 32 home runs, 112 RBIs with a 251 average. And then the next one, 27 home runs, 78 RBIs with a 247 average. These are all pretty close. That's what
What was
I
it?
did on purpose.
Two what? Sorry.
Uh, 247 batting average.
Okay.
And then the last one is 21 home runs, 73 RBIs with a 283 average. And if you want me to give you OPS, I can. If I give you WAR, it kind of gives it away a
No,
little.
I think I have this. I think I got it.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
Here.
Um, okay, I'm pretty sure Adamas is the 32 home runs.
Okay. Got him.
Okay.
Now you're down to the other three.
Now these other three, they're like dead even, I feel like.
Yeah. I guess
Um,
the batting average is that's like the key one.
I
Hey,
think I think Seiya is the 283 batting
that's
average.
good. Yep, high batting average. The other two are kind of lower.
And then this is like a coin flip. I just looking at these three, they look almost identical here. Um, I'm gonna say I'm gonna say Chapman is the 25 home runs, Ellie is the 27.
No, so you flip
Dang
them.
it. Okay.
Yeah, it
It's close.
kind of
It's
good to look
really
at batting
close.
average because Chapman has not had a batting average at 250 like ever.
Okay.
But I guess Ellie has always been a low batting average, and he kind of bumped it up this past year. So that's kind of where he probably got mixed
Yeah.
up.
I think with Ellie, I was just thinking he strikes out a lot, and I was like, oh well, his average is probably just lower than Chapman's. But and I'm also surprised Chapman hit more home runs than Ellie did, to be honest with you. I would have said Ellie,
Yeah.
but
And also, if I give you a WAR, so I would have said 5.2 and 7.1. Would you been able to match those up between those two players?
but does
That's
Chapman
tough.
have the seven?
Chapman was a seven, dude.
He had
Seven
seven
WAR.
win season last year.
His defense is insane every
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
Like 4.5 or five of that is just his defense.
Oh, and Ellie had five. That's also pretty like
That's pretty good.
that is really good. For
This
how
year he
young he
could
is.
definitely be like a 6 or 7. Watch out for him on our shortstop rankings.
Yeah, right.
It'd be pretty high.
Okay, well that was fun. I like that. Those were good numbers too. Those were all really close, like you said. And did you say so? Oh, Willie also had 112 RBI, so he actually cleared all the other guys on that list,
Yeah,
which is pretty.
production.
Yeah. All right. Well, now we're gonna move into our first baseman rankings, top 10 in the MLB heading into 2025. I know. and you're not really on the same train as me with this, but what I said heading into this is there's very distinct tiers for me. So there's tier one, which is like the top three guys. The second tier, there's a second three guys. And in those two tiers, I feel you can kind of interchange them however you want. And then 6 through 10, I feel like is like you could kind of put, you can make a case for a lot of different guys in 6 through 10.
See,
Um,
you say top three, but I think it's a top four. I don't think
hmm.
I think one of the top your top three is not in my top three.
Okay. Well,
Well, find
we'll see.
out.
I don't know. I think I know who you're talking about, but we'll get to that. Do you have any honorable mentions that you'd like to get us started with? I think I have one that I'd like to
Yeah,
mention.
I'll throw a couple out. I said Vinny Pasquantino.
Hmm.
Um, I like him a lot. He just hasn't shown me much. He hasn't had a WAR over 1.1. It's been hovering in like the halves to the one. And one thing to keep in mind with first baseman, they get docked a lot positionally because of WAR. So you can be a great defender, but you're not going to get much WAR because of it. That's just how it goes when you're at first base. They expect you to earn that WAR through offense. Um, yeah, and then I also had Jake Berger, just mashes home runs. He was so close to making my 10, but I got other players, so.
Yeah, Burger was not. I never really thought about Burger. Pasquantino, I was thinking about. But my big honorable mention was Michael Bush, and I really, really tried to find a spot for him in my top 10 list, but I couldn't. He had a 2.5 win season last year, and I was looking at some of his minor league numbers. He raked in the farm system of LA. He had like a 900 OPS every single season and I feel like he's gonna get better. And I just didn't know. I didn't want to like rank like hype or potential, I guess, higher than like what guys have actually already done. Because I mean Bush had a good year last year, but it wasn't like amazing. But I think there's potential Bush can make a really good season this year. I couldn't fit him into my top 10 just yet, but I did want to shout him out because I think he's gonna be pretty solid for a while in Chicago. Do you want to get us started with 10 and then we could kind of snake back and forth?
Yeah, 10 is kind of it's a pretty big hot take, but I think it's gonna pan out very well. So it might look bad now, but just give it some time.
Okay.
I say Colt Keith 10. I'm not even kidding. So
Okay.
Colt Keith, see, I don't even want to run through his numbers because I don't think they do justice for me putting him at 10. But 13 home runs, 61 RBIs, 260 average with a 690 OPS. I with the adjustments that he made, like last year, he started in March and April. He had 91 at bats, and his OPS was 370 between those first 2 months. So absolutely terrible start. And then he dug himself out of that hole in May. He had a 342 average with a 900 OPS. And then July he had a 322 average with a 1.048 OPS. And then after that, each of the months he hovered in like the 600s ish. Um, so he showed like huge flashes of being like the best second baseman. He was second base at the time. Um, but now moving over to first base, his defense was it started out really well and then it kind of fell off a little bit. Um, but I see him going to first base. I see him being a boss defender, going from second to first. It's a lot easier. I know it's gonna be an adjustment because he hasn't played there like ever, and I still don't agree with the whole situation. Um, but yeah, I can see him having a big year, maybe like 20 to 23 home runs, and like in like the 790, 800 OPS with good defense. So
I honestly don't see that at all, to be honest with you.
the production,
Yeah, no, no, not I I
yeah.
maybe because he's like first baseman's a bit less of like a tasking or a taxing position to play than second, and he can kind of just, hover there. Um, And I agree with what you said about the defense. You said he's never played there before, right? Never played
Mhm.
first in the minors at all. And not that he can't learn it or whatever, but I just I get maybe there's a world this happens, but 780 OPS with 20 home runs, I don't know. There's not much here that tells me like he slugged below 400 last year. Like I OPS plus of a 96. I I don't know.
This
And
is a wait and see, I think. I
maybe,
think
and
I
maybe
think
you'll
it'll
be
look
right.
good.
I'm not gonna buy into that big of a jump from a guy that didn't show me much last year, to be
Yeah.
honest. And on top of playing a new position entirely, I don't think you can just ignore that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, Okay. My number 10 is also a guy that's moving over to first baseman for the first time. I have Wilson Contreras here. I think a guy that a lot of people are going to forget about heading into this season, but he's a really good hitter actually. He was hurt a kind of a good chunk of last year and it kind of so he played 84 games. He had a 3 WAR still, which I that kind of blew my mind to be honest with you. But he's a career 117 OPS plus hitter. He had a 136 last season, 123, 126, and 109 the past 3 years. Um, OPS hasn't been below 800 since 2021, and he only has 2 full seasons, I think, of a OPS below 800. So just a really consistent hitter. Usually a 2020 guy. He would have been 2020 last year if he had played all the games. Pretty much, he had 17 doubles with 15 home runs, so would have hit that mark again. He hit it the past 3 seasons, so I have full faith he can do that. Um, I've seen him higher on a couple lists. The only reason I didn't want to do that is just playing a new position, playing over at first.
Hmm.
I think it's so easy with first baseman to just ignore the defense, and I think to some extent you kind of can, but also if you're going to play all 9 innings in the field at a position, I think you have to be, it should matter a little bit into how you look at these guys. So that's why he was not that much higher. I just kind of waiting to see how he is going to be at first. I think he'll be fine. I don't think he'll be bad. But I think with the bat here and allowing him to kind of move off of catcher and focus on first baseman alone, I think it could turn out really well for him, and he should be a good first baseman overall. And it also clears up room for Ivan Herrera for St. Louis too, which I like a lot. So I think this is actually going to work out pretty good for St. Louis here, and that is my number 10. So do I go on to 9 now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So my number 9, and this was a guy I was kind of tossing back and forth with Bush here, but I have Josh Naylor at my 9 spot. Um, so he is. My thing with Josh Naylor is I think we've already seen his peak, and I don't know if you want to say like it could be his power peak or his bat peak. So like, and what I mean is 2022 he had oh I guess wait yeah no okay no last year he had 31 home runs, but only a 243 average. He had a 776 OPS. But in 2023, he had a 308 average with an 842 OPS, but only 17 home runs. So to me, this kind of looks like it'll be a back and forth of maybe he has a lot of power one year, but the average dips down, and then the other year maybe he'll lose some of his power, but the average will tick up. I feel like we've already seen the best Josh Naylor is going to bring, and that is pretty good still. I don't see how he's going to be like. I feel like you know what you're going to get with him, and that's great. I'm not going to rank him higher because I feel like I know what I'm going to expect, and he's going to be a pretty
Yeah.
solid hitter over at first. Defense probably not the best, but he's going to slug probably pretty well. He'll play a lot of games and he'll be a good spot over there. But I don't have much else to say about him for that. I think, like I said, you know what you're going to get. So I think 9 is a fair slot for him.
So I have him a little higher, so it's not like a huge difference. But when you say you know what you're gonna get, so you mean you know you're gonna get 30 home runs? Or are you saying like do you think less than that even?
I, I'm saying, I'm
'Cause
saying based off the past 2 seasons, like I
okay,
said, you know you're going to get like either a high average, less amount of home runs, or maybe lower average, high amount of home runs. Like I don't see him hitting more than 31 home runs again in this season, is what I'm trying to say.
okay.
And I don't see, I think maybe he could return to a 300 batting average hitter, but I think then you would see the home runs tick down also if he did that. So I'm saying I think we've seen his max potential here, and he's just kind of going to be hovering between 20 to 30 home runs a year and like 250 to 300 batting average every year, and low 800s OPS, high sevens, something like that. I don't
I
see him wavering too
think
much
that's
from
good
that.
enough for higher than that though.
Not with some of the other guys on this list, I don't think.
Yeah, it's a good list, but um okay. Want me to go now?
Yeah. Yeah, you can go 9 and then 8.
So 9, I don't know if you got this guy. This is another guy you could kind of forget about because he's always moving around positionally, it seems like. But I said Luis Arias. And I know like the stereotypical first baseman is like power, like driving runs, and that is not at all what he is. He'd be like a one or two batter in the lineup just because gets on base so much. But while it is hard to put a guy that had a 740 OPS this high on a list, it's you cannot ignore the fact that he's won the past three batting titles. So he had a 314 average in 24, 354 batting average in 2023, and then 316. His lowest batting average in a season is 294, and career his batting average is 323. Like he has not been below average OPS plus, so he's got 200 hits in each of the past two seasons. I don't think you can ignore that. I know he has this last year he had 4 home runs, but that's just not the guy he is. Um, and when he's on the Padres, it doesn't. When you have other like big boppers like Manny Machado and Tatis, that doesn't matter. Like you don't need that production. You just need guys to get on base so you can drive them in. So, um, yeah, number 9. I hope you have him on your list. I hope you didn't ignore him.
I do not. And I'll tell you why. Do you want me to say now or wait till you're done?
No, yeah, you can go now.
Um, yeah, I get what you're saying with the batting title and the batting average. It is really good. Um, but he doesn't play defense well at all, and he doesn't slug. Like I'm not taking a first baseman that hit 10 home runs as his highest point. Like I'm just not. And maybe I feel like he's just a good hitter, but he's not a good first baseman, if that makes sense. And his WAR last season was just one. And I know you were saying about the WAR with first baseman. And in 2023 at a 4.9 and 22 to 4.2, but as a first baseman, he just doesn't score out very well. And I'm not I would feel so much better with so many other guys on this list, other than a guy that just, hits for average and doesn't do anything else. He doesn't walk at all. He doesn't have any slug. I don't know. Like he's a good hitter, yeah, but that's not who I want at first base. So that's
I
kind of
think I think you need to like I think ignoring the stereotypes of what a first baseman has to be, what we've been taught a first baseman has to be. I think it's hard not to put him in top 10. Um, yeah, I think when it's ingrained in your mind that they have to hit 20 home runs in order to be good, I feel like then it's easy to ignore them. But
well, yeah, but the reason it is ingrained in my mind is because normally first basemen don't play good defense usually. And so how do you make up for that? You hit the ball far. And
or
Luis
get on base at a 350 clip. So that's what I mean though, like batting average. I don't know.
uh,
It's like having him at the top of your lineup or having like a Josh Naylor in the middle of your lineup. I don't know. I would love to have Luis Arias batting like one for the Tigers and getting on base, like and hitting and driving in runs. So I don't know.
yeah,
Number
46,
eight, I
46,
said,
all 46 runs batted in last year. He's going to drive in a lot
yeah,
of.
I guess. Number 8, I said Nathaniel Lowe. Lau, I don't know. Um, he had 16 home runs, 70 RBIs, 762 OPS. But it's really just been consistency. OPS plus by the years 109, 112, 139, 114, 120. Um, and he's averaging around 17 to his high was 27 home runs. And really, this is more of an upside. And I know he's gonna like replicate it with the Nationals, and I think he'll be a little bit better. He's a lot younger than a lot of these other first basemen. That's why I have him this high on the list. He's going into his age 29 season, and he has some of the best defense at first base too. Which I do. Defense at first isn't as important nearly as catchers, obviously, but um, I s- he- fielding value he was fourth on Fangraphs. So. Yeah, Nathaniel Lowe, number 9.
I think that's going to be the one part of the list we actually agree on from what it sounds like. He is my, or you said he was 8, right, on your list?
8, yeah.
Yeah, he's also my number 8 spot. I'll echo everything you said. Consistency, I love. Still got a good amount of slug. Hits for pretty decent average. Defense is really good. He also walks a ton. He's in the 97th percentile in walk rate with a 12.6%. And the defense also is there. And like I've said, I don't think that's something you can just ignore over at first base. While it is less valuable than like catcher, like you said, I don't think it's something you can just look past. So yeah, I really like that. I think he's going to be off a lot of lists this year, but I am expecting a pretty good season from him over in Washington. And yeah, I think consistency was my big thing too. Just been really good over the past few years and stays healthy also, which is huge. So I don't have much else to say on him. Number seven, this is going to be the end of my like kind of tier one, I guess, but I have Yandy Diaz of Tampa Bay. And I've seen him higher, I've seen him lower on some lists, but I think seven's a good spot for him. Oh, the bat here is so good, dude. It's like he's such a good hitter. 2023 was his best season. He had 22 home runs, 522 slug with a 932 OPS. Baseball Savant loves his bat as well. He doesn't whiff at all. He doesn't strike out that much either. And his defense is pretty poor, but I think the bat here more than makes up for it. And I think by a lot. There's just a lot to like with him, and he is 33, so maybe you start to see him regress just a little bit here. Um, but yeah, I think the numbers speak for themselves here. Career 126 OPS plus, and having this good of a bat while also not striking out a lot, I think is really impressive. And yeah, I think we're due for another good year here from him. Might get traded also from Tampa Bay to a contender, which I think would be fun to watch. But yeah, that's my number seven.
I don't know. It scares me a lot going into age 33 season. What kind of scares me with a lot of these older guys is he was amazing in 2023. Don't get me wrong. Finished sixth in MVP voting, 330 batting average. But once you get in your 30s and you have that one like big turning season, like his OPS dropped like 180 points. Like that scares me a lot. To go from a 932 OPS to a 755 and to have your WAR drop from 5.2 to 1.6, that's a little too scary for me. So he didn't even crack my top 10. Um, you're doing the next one, aren't you? Or did you do two already?
Um, no, because I did low and then I did Yandi. So
Okay,
I
so
think
now
you're
I'm at seven
yeah,
and six.
7-6.
Okay. Number seven, I have Naylor number seven. So still pretty close to yours. I'm pretty high on Naylor. Again, he's going into age 28 season where a lot of these first basemen are just getting up there. He had, yeah, 31 home runs, 776 OPS. And then the year before, like you said, it's either high average, lower amount of home runs or a low average, high amount of home runs. It's kind of polarizing. Like, I don't know what I'm going to get, but either one is good. In my eyes.
Hmm.
So if he can find a balance between that 240 average with 31 home runs and that 308 average with 17 home runs, you're looking at like a very solid like 270, 275 batting average with 25 home runs. So um I think he's gonna hover around there. Um and yeah, just the age is the biggest thing. I think the Guardians made a huge mistake of letting him go and then just picking up Santana. I'm still not really sure financially where the benefit was because they would have paid each of them like the same amount. So I was super confused. Another honorable mention, real quick. I'll say Carlos Santana. He's been amazing, but it's just so hard to put a guy that's going on his 38 season or whatever.
Well, and if he didn't win Gold Glove last year, I don't even think you'd even be considering him either.
Yeah.
Like that kind of came out of nowhere, in my opinion. Yeah, I looked at him and I was like, oh, maybe Santana, but yeah, I think one kind of longer look, and you're like, no, you can't do it.
Yeah. But he's been good, so you gotta give him some
Mhm.
credit. Hitting too, his hitting's not bad either. Going on to number six. This is kind of I don't think you're gonna agree with this, but I've preached this for so long with getting older and it scares me. I said Christian Walker at six. I know he's been super consistent, but you'll see the guys higher on my list. Like I have my reasons. Let me just pull up his stats right here.
You're
Uh,
not really, he's my six too. I agree with
you
you.
really?
Yeah.
I
There's
thought that was I kind of felt disrespectful, but age 30
no,
season, his OPS plus it's been 125, 122, 121. Great. It's not like off the charts. And it is higher than like this next guy on my list, but I don't know. He scares me a little bit. Um, I don't know. His WAR from 22, it was 5, and then it went to 3.8, and then it went to 2.6. So it's been seeing a steady decline. And these guys, you can't last forever. Like Paul Goldschmidt, he's not on my list, and I don't think he's on yours either.
oh, he's
But
not number four on your list. Not a
No.
top five first
The,
baseman.
the MLB, yeah,
Shredder.
was it MLB Network?
Yeah, yeah, whatever they use. I think it's
Oh,
like the
that was
shredder thing or whatever, but
yeah. So like with him, yes, he won. Goldschmidt won the MVP, and I think it was 2022. But when you see that when they start to decline, which I'm not saying Christian Walker really has, because he's still been amazing. Don't get me
yeah,
wrong,
right.
but I can't see it lasting, and I don't know. Maybe I should be more the mindset of like I'll dock him once he proves to me that he's gonna be bad, but I'm just kind of assuming that he's gonna regress, and I still think he'll be above average, 100%. But I can't see this continuing. He's getting old.
Even with I get you were kind of coming at that from like a negative approach because you didn't think I was gonna have him here, but I feel like there's still so much to like with him and he's still such a good player. Like, and even if you were expecting him to decline, I still think I like what you get with Christian Walker. He was a top two defensive catcher last year behind Santana. Would have won the Gold Glove if Santana wasn't playing. He's a consistent 2020 guy. He's done that so much. He always stays healthy. 120 OPS, the 120 OPS plus the past three seasons. It's another guy you know you're gonna get, and he's just I love how consistent he is again at first base, defense and offense. Houston signing him, I think, is perfect. Also, he pulls the ball. He's gonna let a lot of home runs next year, I think. Um, yeah, I think putting him at six is like, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think there's just five guys that
Yeah.
are better than him objectively here. And six, I think, is a very fair ranking for him. And I think it is because he's really good. He's just such a good player. And it's hard for me to poke a hole in any part of his game. I feel like he excels in so many different parts that it's like he's just good at a lot of things. And I think he's going to fit in really well with Houston. So my number five now then is gonna be Pete Alonso. He's gonna be breaking my top five. He's been in the news a lot recently, and for good reason, just with all the free agency stuff and where he's gonna end up, and the market hasn't really been his friend so far. Um, he just hits a lot of home runs and drives in a lot of runs. I don't have much else to say outside of that. 53 home runs back in 2019. That was his best. He hit 46 in 2023. Last year was probably his worst year. It was his first season below at 800 OPS. But still, he's a well above average hitter, well above average slugger. Um, yeah, he just kind of mashes the baseball and doesn't do much else, doesn't think about it too much other than that. And I feel like this is kind of one of those like no-brainers, like, yeah, it's Pete Alonso. Maybe his WAR is lower than some other guys, maybe his defense isn't as good. But he hits the ball far away and he's gonna hit a lot of those. So I think number five is pretty fair here.
Yeah, I also have him as my number five. The home runs, they're awesome. 53, 16 in the COVID year, 37, 40, 46, 34. Like you're almost guaranteed 35 to even 45 home runs, like almost a guarantee. So the fact that he's still on the market, it makes me sad for him because his value, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why nobody really wants him. I know there's a lot of teams, we were talking about this, a lot of teams have their first baseman. But the DH spot is also there, so you can also like ex mismatch or like let's say you bring him over to Kansas City, like Salvi can play first base and then DH, or they can switch around with Pete Alonso. Like there's so many teams, the Mariners we talk about it so much, and that where Pete Alonso would be like a perfect fit. Like they're just craving a guy that can hit 35 home runs with 100 RBIs, and you know for sure that's what you're gonna get. He's only 30 years old. And yeah, his regression is very scary. 4.4, 3.2, and 2.6. But I see this last year as the floor for him for at least like the next few years. I don't think he's gonna be this bad, and he's still amazing, and he still was very um productive. So yeah, Pete Alonso number five. Number four, this is where I there's no way um your top three is the same as mine.
Okay.
I have Freddie as four. I know it's kind of
Is this like an age thing again for you?
not completely. It's more of just a testament to the top three.
Okay.
My number three, I'm very high on him. You probably can assume who it is at this point, I'm guessing, but
Yeah.
um yeah, Freddie's awesome. I he's like let's see, let me look at his numbers. So these past, you could go all the way back to 2013.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
OPS plus. I'm turning this into more of a positive. I'm not gonna like I turn the Christian Walker into a negative. I'm gonna make this more of like a,
Yeah, yeah,
okay, he's amazing. 897 OPS, 847, 841, 968, 989, 892, 938, 1.1, 896, 918, 976, and 854. Like he's been amazing.
yeah.
His batting average is great. He'll still come in with the home runs and the RBIs. The home runs, are they as high as these other guys? No, and that's probably the reasoning why I didn't have him here. But also, I had Luis Arias, who had 4 home runs, as my number nine. So it's kind of, I'm
Yeah.
kind of going on opposite ends here a little bit. But yeah, he's been amazing. I'm just gonna keep it at that. His WAR did drop from 6.5 to 4.7. He's going to age 35, so that's my little being a little skeptical, but
Yeah.
there he hasn't shown much signs of regression to really permit more of a drop than this. But yeah, number four, Freddie Freeman.
His the 282 batting average, that was his first average below 300 since 2019 where he had a 295.
That's crazy. And then if let's say that 295 was 300, then you would have to go all the way back to 2015.
That's yeah, that's great.
Like,
I'll be curious to hear your argument for why like because he's a little higher on my list. I'll be curious to hear why
yeah,
your other guys are higher because like oh my gosh, Freddie is just so good. And it's another guy you can't really like, okay, maybe his defense, but like look at this hitting, dude. It's like so consistent and so good like all the time. And oh, he gets on base too a lot and just he hits the
he
ball
was
so hard also.
he was 11th in fielding value. Fielding again not as important at
Yeah,
first base,
but
but the next guy is a lot higher than that too.
yeah.
So
Um 142 OPS plus career hitter. He had a 187 in 2020, which I mean that's the COVID year, but highest regular season looks like was 23 at a 163. Oh, there's so much like with Freddie. But my number four is, and I think this is a guy you were talking about maybe. I have Matt Olson here. Um, and this was a down year for Matt Olson, which is crazy to say. 29 home runs, 98 RBIs, OPS plus of 118, 790 OPS, one of his lower ones of his career, especially coming off a 993 from 23, which was his best season to date. Still a four-win player, and just thinking about this being a bad year for Olson, and looking at his previous years, there's still so much to like with him here. And I hope he's part of a really good Atlanta team next year. And I think hopefully he'll return to kind of what we saw in 2023, at least kind of start to approach that again. Still played 162 games last season. He's played 162 games the past 3 seasons, which you just gotta love. For if you're an Atlanta fan or Atlanta management, like the fact that the past 3 seasons, you know who's playing first base every day, that's got to be huge for them. Especially when it's Matt Olson who's this good. Um, yeah, I think it's kind of like another Pete Alonso thing. He's going to hit the ball far. He's going to hit it really well. And he's going to be a well above average hitter in Atlanta. And yeah, he's my number four. Oh, wait, am I on three now?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. So now this is where, so I mean, it's a little different for you because you left. My consensus top three included Freddie Freeman. I think Freddie is higher up than Matt, which is I'm assuming who you kind of flipped out here. But I think when you get to the top three here, at least in my list, you can kind of I can see an argument for any one of these guys being number one. But for my number three, I have Vladdy, and I'm gonna make my argument here for why I think Vladdy is three. And again, this shouldn't, it is so hard to be like try and stay positive about these guys, like not in that sense, but like when I'm being like negative against him, don't take it as like I don't like him as a player at all. It's just
Yeah.
my argument for why he's below the other two guys that are also insanely good at first base. Um, so anyway, Vladdy obviously amazing hitter. I don't need to say that. Really, really good. And you look back at 2021, 48 home runs. His OPS was above a one, slugging 600, got on base 400, like just insane, otherworldly numbers. Then you look at 2022, 818 OPS. Then you look at 2023, 788 OPS. 2024 now, he has a really good season, 30 home runs, 940 OPS, back up there. Everything ticked back up from the past two seasons. So my argument here is we know what Vladdy's ceiling is. I think his ceiling is probably one of the highest of these last three players, but I think his floor is also the lowest, and that's why I have him at three. I think with a guy like Freddie and the other guy I have, who I won't say, I think their ceilings are a lot higher, and that makes me feel better with them at first base. Could Vladdy turn out to be the best first baseman hitting wise this year? Absolutely. But I'm going to trust more in the guys that have shown the highest level they have and bringing that each and every year compared to Vladdy, who showed it to me 1 year, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Um,
So, sorry, I'm gonna cut you off.
oh, you're good.
Kind of going off that, you say his floor is the lowest, which it has proven to be the lowest, but when he's almost 10 years younger than one of the guys and then like 8 years younger than the other guy, I feel like it's kind of hard to say that when the other guys are that much older.
Well, but yeah, okay. That's we're heading into 2025 though. I'm not looking at a 10-year outlook.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
I'm
I'm saying
saying,
the age difference. One's 10 years older, one's like 8 years older.
right, so wouldn't you favor the guys that are more experienced probably? I think so.
I don't know. He's still, Vladdy still got 6 years in the league, and I don't know.
So, right, but when you show me that your floor is higher than what I think it is right now, then I'll bump him up. But when you look at these other guys that I have up here, and we literally just looked at Freddie's numbers. When was the last time you saw Freddie have an OPS that was 788? Like never. Like his
I
rookie
don't
season.
know. Yeah, I don't know if he'll be able to prove his floors. He's already kind of proven his floor. I feel like I don't think if he has the same season as next year, his floor will still be probably around like 780.
Right.
But I don't think he's gonna in the next 5 years. I don't really see him dipping below 800. You'll see where he's at in mine.
Okay.
Um, is it? It's my turn, right?
Yeah, you're on. You get three and two.
Okay. Yeah. So I did the swap, Olson and Freddie. Olson, there's three like main reasons why I think I put him above Freddie. First, durability. He has the last three seasons, he's led the league in games played, playing every single game. And then dating back to the last 7 seasons, he's in 5 of those 7 seasons, he's played the maximum amount of games, so he's led the league in games played. So like the durability is there, and Freddie played 147, so he missed 15 games. A lot of those are probably just rest because the Dodgers are so good and you don't want to tax them too much. Um, but just the durability is great. The defense is great. He's a top three, top five defender, depending on what statistics you look at. Fielding value on Fangraphs has him graded pretty highly. And um, looking back, yes, this was his worst year. And this is probably his floor. And again, Freddie Freeman has not had a 790 OPS in a long time. But looking at his 2023, 54 home runs, 604 slugging is insane with a 993 OPS. Um, Going into age 31 season, he's 4 years younger, 3.5 years younger. I think he's gonna be, I don't know. It's tough. Like it comes down to the question in my mind of next year, do you want Freddie or do you want Matt Olson? I think I would go with Matt Olson with the age and the durability. Freddie, he was a little gimpy in the playoffs, but I say that, and then he went off in the World Series and he
Yeah,
was
one
like
World Series
insane.
MVP.
So like I don't know. It's so tough. These guys are all insane.
It's like apples
Um,
and oranges with this top four. Like we probably could both agree. You can make a case, I think, for any of these guys being one, being two, being
yeah.
three, and it'd probably be a pretty valid case. It's like they're all just so good. It's like impossible to try and pick and choose where you want these guys to go. So I totally agree.
Yeah. I think our biggest mistake, and this is probably more on me, it's it makes these players seem like when we're trying to justify them being
Yeah,
higher than the others,
like
it's coming
downgrading
off as
them.
negative towards the other guys, but we're just trying to like show
Justify. We're trying to
justify these
justify why we
positions.
think.
Yes, but these players are all insane, and I would love these players are all probably $40 million a year players if they got a contract right now. So I mean, yeah. Going on to my number two. I have Bryce Harper, so you can guess who my number one is at that point. But Bryce has been awesome. Going to age 32 season, his age still. I like that he has not shown any signs of regression. The thing that does scare me and why he probably isn't number one is because he misses a lot of games. He got Tommy John surgery. I think that was at 22.
Yeah, probably. He only played 99 games in 22.
Okay. Yeah, so 141 games, 99, 126, 145. So he's always going to miss at least like 20 games, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it's kind of like the Freddie Freeman. Like you go all the way back to 2015, which was his like breakout year. 1.109 OPS, 42 home runs, 99 RBIs with MVP finish. Number one he got. And then ever since then has not dipped below an 800 OPS. And each of the last 5 years, it's been right around 900 all the way up to 1.044 with another MVP win in 2021. So I love Bryce Harper. His defense is great there. I guess when you go from the outfield with good defense to first base, you're almost guaranteed to have good defense, kind of like Cody Bellinger, like those guys. Um, yeah, so I think he's going to be great next year too. So
Yeah, so my number two is Freddie. We've already talked a lot about Freddie, so I'll keep it brief, but playing at the level Freddie has played for his whole career, I don't think you can devalue that until he shows me otherwise that he's starting to regress or something's going on. I'm not gonna mess with that. I think Freddie, and I think you could easily still make a case for Freddie being the best first baseman, not only on the field, but I think off the field too. His impact is
oh
insane.
yeah, it's
Um,
amazing.
and how much he helped that team again on and off the field in the World Series last year, I think is unmatched. So Freddie is my two, Vladdy was my three. Number one is Bryce Harper. And one of the things that kind of ticked me over here for Bryce was actually the defense. Third best defensive for first baseman last year from Savant behind Walker and Santana, who we mentioned before. And he's kind of like you said, another guy kind of like Freddie, where the hitting has just been really good. And I think he fits perfectly in Philly. I mean, I don't really need to go through the numbers. I think we all know what he brings to the table. Career 143 OPS plus hitter. He's been above a 1 OPS two times. One of them was 2020, but he did have a full season where he had a 1109 in 2015, which looking at these numbers is actually kind of insane the year he had here. His OPS plus was almost a 200. And that's 10 years ago now, so I'm not gonna dwell too much on that. But yeah, the defense is really good. The hitting is really good. Again, another guy kind of hard to find a hole in his game. And I think he's definitely getting up there in age too, like you were saying, what age 32 season. So maybe we'll start to see him. I don't know. I don't want to bank on him like uh
Regressing.
yeah, regressing, but I think overall, I think he is the best first baseman right now. So I think that's why I put him at number one.
Yeah. Yeah, again, these guys all have an argument. I had Vladdy at number one. And I can definitely see the argument for like he's very polarizing. Like it's either 800 or like not mid 900s
And not
to
even polarizing. I don't know if that came across as polarizing. Just and there's maybe not a good word for it, but looking at the Bryce Harpers and the Freddie Freemans, it's like I like seeing more consistency with their numbers than
yeah.
what I'm seeing with Vladdy. So yeah, but you can keep going.
Vladdy, dude, age 22 season. Do you have his stats pulled up?
I know what season you're talking about, but I'll get him up.
Dude, 48 home runs, 111 RBIs. He led the league. He had 311 average, didn't lead in that, but he led in on base, slugging, OPS, OPS plus, total bases, and he finished second. Was that to Judge?
Must have
This is
been.
age 22. Age 22 season, you put that out. Oh,
But
Shohei, of course.
was that your argument with the age thing earlier then about how like he's been this good this young and you think he's gonna get better, kind of?
Yeah,
Okay, I
like
see.
age 22 season, putting those numbers
Yeah,
up, like,
yeah.
dude,
That
going into
is
age 26, I'm super high on him. And he was 10 RBIs away from winning the Triple Crown that year. And even if he won the Triple Crown, he still probably won the MVP because Shohei had This is the Shohei show again. 9 wins, 2 losses, 3.18 ERA in 130 innings, and then he also put up 46 home runs. So just an absurd year. You have a 22-year-old, and then you have like a pitching top five finish, slugging top five finish, like with Shohei Ohtani. So it's just crazy. Baseball is insane. But yeah, I think he's by far the best first baseman. Looking at the WAR, 6.2 compared to Bryce's 4.8 last year, compared to Olson's 3.8, and then Freddie, I'm guessing, let me see, I have Freddie up too. Freddie was 4.7, so over a 1.5 difference between Vladdy and the next and then whoever the next guy is that you want to pick out. Um, yeah, I can see him being great, and I think his payday is going to be huge. It's not going to be as big as Juan Soto, but I think he'll be the second highest paid player after next year once he gets paid. And real quick, we can do a quick prediction. Where do you think Vladdy ends up? What do you think the path is?
Uh, what's Paul Goldschmidt's deal in New York?
One.
Um, well, I mean, I really want to say Toronto. I just don't know if they're gonna fork over the money. But like he said, he's wanting to stay in Toronto. So I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah, I
realistic.
don't think we need a hot take. Yeah, I can see it, and they're so desperate to spend money that I don't think they're going to be too hesitant. Is it
Yeah.
scary that he hasn't signed an extension yet? Kind of, but kind of going back to the his numbers when he's that high and low, it's probably hard to like place a value on that,
Hmm.
especially after the 2023 season and then going into 2024. Now he probably wants to just ride it out and see what he can get in free agency. So
Yeah.
I don't think I've been seeing a lot of Red Sox, and I don't think that's a bad landing spot.
Even
Um,
with Tristan Casas over there.
I think there's gonna be some trades and like
Yeah, they'll make it work probably
yeah,
if they do
there's
that.
gonna be something move around. When you have Vladdy and if you have the money to get him, I don't think Tristan Casas is gonna be in the way when you can
Imagine him
trade.
over the monster too. That'd be nuts.
Dude,
He'd hit like
yeah,
50 home runs.
probably he's gonna be crazy. So yeah, I think that rounds out mine.
Yeah, that was mine too. So I'll run through mine one more time, just as a kind of recap. So I had Contreras at 10, Naylor at 9, Nathaniel Lowe at 8, Yandy Diaz 7, Walker at 6, P. Alonso at 5, Matt Olson 4, Vladdy 3, Freddie 2, and then Harper at 1 if you want to go through yours one more time.
Yeah, so I said Colt Keith, just wait and see everybody. That's all I gotta say.
Okay.
At 10, Arrives at 9, Nathaniel Lowe at 8, Josh Naylor at 7, Christian Walker at 6, Pete Alonso at 5, Freddie Freeman at 4, Matt Olson at 3, Bryce Harper at 2, and then Vladdy at 1. That rounds out mine too.
I'm gonna quote you on the just wait and see and put that on our Instagram, and then we'll come back to that in like a year or so,
Oh, if
and
I can get flamed on Instagrams?
yeah, we'll see how that turns out for you.
Okay, we'll see.
That's going to do it for this week. Top 10 first base, and let us know what you guys think down below, what you agree with, what you disagree with, all that good stuff. And be sure to follow us on all of our social media stuff at Lucid Groovy Baseball Shows, where you can find us for all that. Yeah, but that's going to wrap it up for this week. For me and Parker, we'll see you again.
Thank you.